Before time had a name, before light had boundaries, there was harmony in the highest realm. Every breath of heaven moved as one heartbeat, radiant, ordered, unbroken. But pride can be born even in the presence of perfection. When one being, dazzling beyond compare, turned his gaze inward rather than upward, the unthinkable began. And when Lucifer fell, heaven trembled, not because God's throne was shaken, but because creation had never known division until that moment. Yet in the silence that followed, one question lingered in the blazing courts of eternity. Who would stand where Lucifer once stood? The stars of heaven still hummed with the memory of war. The sound of the great clash, light against light, echoed like thunder trapped between ages. And through that cosmic storm, a void appeared where once the brightest song had been sung. Lucifer had led the morning chorus, his voice painting light itself with praise. He was not merely beautiful. He was the symmetry of creation made visible. When he fell, it was as though a color had been torn out of heaven's spectrum. The faithful hosts watched the empty place where he had once stood, the place closest to the throne, nearest the flame. No one dared move. The air itself waited for the breath of God. Then the command came, not as thunder, but as stillness. Heaven does not rush to fill a void. It listens first. And in that listening, something new began to form, not in one angel, not in a chosen replacement, but in the very order of heaven itself. Set up. The rebellion had left scars, not of flesh, but of memory. For the first time, angels' new choice could fracture eternity. Some looked upon the empty expanse where Lucifer's radiance had been and feared what might rise to take his place. Would power corrupt again? Would beauty deceive? Would heaven ever sing in unity once more? The Almighty's answer was not in words but in light. A brilliance unlike any before. Not dazzling, not proud, but steady, deep, and alive with grace. It spread through every choir, touching every rank, filling every voice. And heaven realized, this time, no single being would rise to rule the choirs. Instead, the throne itself would become the song. But not all understood. Among the younger hosts, whispers grew. If no one leads, how will we follow? If no light shines brighter, how will the dawn return? Doubt, subtle and soft, crept like shadow through the awe. Heaven had been rebuilt, yet the question of order remained like an echo. Who rules now? In distant corridors of eternity, seraphim gathered. Their 6 wings folded in reverence, yet their eyes searched for meaning. The archangels convened in silence, each reflecting a different hue of divine purpose. Michael stood not as ruler, but as sentinel. Gabriel listened, not as messenger, but as witness. And Uriel watched the horizon of creation, where new worlds would soon be born. Rising conflict, heaven had survived rebellion, but peace had a price. Uncertainty. Lucifer's fall had left a paradox in the heavens. Order without hierarchy, light without a single source. It was as though God himself had chosen to scatter what had once been singular. And yet, perhaps that was the mystery. For power, once trusted to one, had been divided among many. Each angel carried a measure of what was lost, a spark of the once great radiance, now purified through obedience. But even light can be tempted by memory. The angels remembered his song, haunting, mesmerizing, beautiful. Some longed for the old rhythm, for the unity that came from following one voice. Others whispered, maybe heaven needs another to stand close to the throne. And the heavens held their breath again. But few understood what came next. The silence before the Almighty was deeper than time. Every wing was still. Every flame of heaven bowed low. Then the voice, not thunder, but the breath that makes thunder possible, spoke. No throne is empty where my will remains. And at that word, Heaven trembled with relief and awe. The host saw that what had seemed like loss was in truth transformation. Lucifer's radiance had been singular, dazzling, dangerous. The new light was diffused, humble, shared. Where one angel had ruled by brilliance, now 10,000 times 10,000 shone together, each reflecting the source, none replacing it. A vision rippled through the firmament. The river of fire that flowed before the throne surged higher, and within its reflection appeared wings without number, a choir without center. The beauty that once belonged to one was now written into all who remained faithful. Michael stepped forward not to ascend, but to kneel. His voice was steady as he cried, "Holy is the one who needs no replacement," and the heavens thundered their agreement. Yet among the choirs, a question lingered still. How would creation understand this? For mortals would one day gaze at the stars and wonder who commands them, who rules the unseen realm. So the Almighty wove the answer into creation itself. He made the sun to rule the day, the moon to rule the night, not rivals but reflections. He placed in every heart the memory of harmony and the choice that sustains it. In that pattern lay the lesson heaven had learned. Dominion was never meant to dwell in one heart alone. True rule is communion, light shared, not seized. The hosts resumed their song, but it was a different melody now. It rose and fell like tides of mercy, vast and tender. Each voice carried both power and humility. Every note confessed, "We are many, but our praise is one." And though the place where Lucifer had stood remained unfilled, it was no longer empty. It burned with a new kind of glory, one made of countless reflections bound together by obedience and love. In the lower heavens, the winds whispered the story to creation. To the newborn stars they said, "Shine, but remember whose fire you borrow." To the newborn souls they murmured, "Rise, but remember who lifted you." And so, even after rebellion, heaven did not fall, it learned. Perhaps that is the mystery for us as well. When pride collapses and thrones break, something greater often rises. Not a ruler, but a radiance shared. For heaven's true order was never about who stood nearest the throne. It was about the light that makes thrones unnecessary.